Hey, what up, guys? Doing another What's Next. This one is on former 122-pound super bantamweight champion Jessie Magdaleno. He's currently my number 10 featherweight in the world at 126. He hasn't fought since last August when he scored a very impressive 10-round technical decision victory over former world title challenger Rafael Rivera. So that was only his second fight at featherweight. He was scheduled to return in March against in a stay busy fight, and that fight got scratched due to the coronavirus pandemic. So what's the big question now is what's next for Jessie Magdaleno? Well, Magdaleno's got some opportunities, you know, and there could be a lot of possibilities. So he's currently ranked number 1 by the WBC, and he's currently ranked number 4 by the WBO. So he's floating right in that area. Let's take a look at the top 10 and possibilities and go from there. We start with number 1 in the top 10, and that is undefeated IBF champion Josh Warrington. This fight's not going to happen next or anytime soon. Warrington is going to unify belts most likely with Shu Kan, the WBA champion, next. And then after that, he's got a shot with, he's going to have to probably make a mandatory against the IBF champion, or the IBF mandatory number 1 contender, Kid Galahad. So he's likely tied up. I don't see him and Magdaleno locking horns. Next to number 2 is WBC champion Gary Russell Jr. Now this fight could happen, even though they have rival promoters in Top Rank and the PBC. Jessie Magdaleno's the number 1 contender. So what that means is Gary Russell struggles to find opponents a lot. So he might just say fuck it, even though he's talked about moving up in weight and vacating the belt. He might say fuck it because Magdaleno's kind of got a decent name and stay here at 126 and face Magdaleno in his next fight. That is a possibility. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm leaning towards the no, but I do think it's possible. So that's that. Next at number 3 is the number 1 contender, our former world title challenger, Kid Galahad from the United Kingdom. Now, this fight I do believe could happen next also. And here's a scenario I believe there. Galahad is number 2 or number 3. I think he's number 2 in the WBC right now, and Magdaleno is number 1. Now, Galahad's number 1 in the IBF, and he has a direct shot at that world title, but he's going to have to wait through the unification bout that Josh Warrington, the champion, has with Shu Kan. That's most likely happening next. So Galahad, he might not get his title shot until early next year. You know, late this year, early next year, when he might finally get his IBF title fight. So if Gary Russell were to come out, the WBC champion right now, were to come out and vacate the title, and he's talked about doing that and moving up to 130 or 135, that leaves Galahad number 2 and Magdaleno number 1. He could fight for a title quicker, could Galahad. So and Magdaleno would be the guy he would fight right now based on the ranking. So this fight is possible next. So we got to wait to see what happens with Gary Russell Jr., but Magdaleno could be facing Kid Galahad next. So that is possible. Next at number 4 is former 2-division world champion Carl Frampton. Frampton's moving up to 130 officially next, and he's going to challenge Jamel Herring for the WBO 130-pound title. This fight's not possible next between these two guys, even though they're both promoted by Top Rank. Next at number 5 is WBA regular champion Shu Kan of China. Not going to happen next. Kan is in line to unify belts against Josh Warrington. That should be a decent fight. Could go either way. Right now, Magdaleno is just not in. Even if Kan were to win, he would have to face off against the IBF mandatory next. That's not Magdaleno, so I don't see this one happening. Next at number 6 is undefeated WBO champion Shakur Stevenson. There's an outside chance I believe this fight could happen, but Stevenson, you know, for all intents and purposes, looks like he's moving up to 130 in his next fight. Bob Arum is trying to get Michael Conlon, the Irish guy, undefeated. He's trying to get him into a world title fight. He's number 1 in the WBO right now, but he also doesn't want to throw him in against one of his best guys and brightest stars, Shakur Stevenson. So I don't think Magdaleno plays in here to fight for the IBF title against Stevenson. Even though they're both promoted by Top Rank, easy fight to make, I would like to see it, but I don't think Magdaleno wants anything to do with Stevenson. And I don't think Bob Arum wants to throw him in against them. So it is possible because they're both promoted by the same people, but I don't see it. Next at number 7 is former WBA champion Jesus Rojas. I don't see this one. Rojas is with Golden Boy, Magdaleno's with Top Rank. I think they're just going to try to face, you know, like the same kind of promoted fighters. That's what I think they do next, so I don't see this one happening. Next at number 8, Tuxko Nyambayar, former world title challenger. Now, another one, this fight could be possible. And the reason why is Magdaleno's number 1 in the WBC, and Nyambayar is still number 3, even though he's coming off that loss to Gary Russell Jr. He's number 3 in the WBC right now. So what does that mean? That means that, and here's the kicker why it could possibly be next, is Kid Galahad's number 2, but Galahad's in line to fight for the IBF title already. He's the mandatory for the IBF title. He might say, hey, I don't want to fight for the WBC belt. Even if it goes vacant, I'm staying here to fight for the IBF title. And the IBF title is likely going to be unified with the WBA belt next because Warrington is facing Shukan. So Galahad would have a shot at 2 belts as opposed to 1 with the WBC. So he could lean towards staying there and fighting for that. That would leave Magdaleno to face the next highest rated guy, which would be Tuxko Nyambayar. And that'd be a good fight right there. This fight could happen next. So make sure you're paying attention. Next at number 9 is former world champion Isaac Dogbe, which would be a rematch from their 2018 bout where Dogbe stopped Magdaleno in the 11th round of that fight in a great fight, handed him his only loss to this point. Now, this fight could be possible if they set up some kind of eliminator. I think Dogbe's likely, both guys are probably going to get tune-up bouts next. And then after that, you never know. I mean, Dogbe might get a high ranking by one of the governing bodies, and these 2 guys could fight in a final eliminator, possibly even for a vacant world title. Look at the WBC. You never know. So this fight could be possible. I think Magdaleno wants to erase that loss. He was the favorite coming in the first time, so definitely could happen. And that's it for the top 10. So what do I think Magdaleno's going to do next? Right now, I think they're trying to fit him into the mix of either the WBC, like we talked about, possibly Gary Russell, possibly Kid Galahad or Tuxko Nyambayar to fight for the vacant title if Russell decides to give it up. So I think Bob Arum's trying to line him up for that. Or Bob Arum, with him being ranked number 4 by the WBO, Magdaleno, I think Bob Arum might be trying to line him up to face Michael Conlan next, the WBO number 1. It'd be a good step up for Conlan. It'd be his toughest opponent, but he's not throwing Conlan in against Shakur Stevenson next. So that is a good option right there too. So definitely a possibility. I could see it happening. Magdaleno, good, solid former champion, and is number 10 right now at 126. Hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.